So I woke up at 5 a.m. You know, every good we went to the top of a mountain story starts with we woke up at some ungodly hour. Sometimes it's 3 a.m. Sometimes it's 4 a.m. Okay, 5 a.m. Some people would probably be like, practically late, man. What are you sleeping until 5 for? Okay, well, for me, 5 o'clock was early, so I'm just saying. I woke up at 5, and my boy got here at 6, and I hopped on the back of his bike, and we drove. And I thought we were going somewhere kind of nearby. I didn't really realize fully where we were actually going until we started getting there, and I was like, oh, this is farther away than I thought. This is like a good hour and a half of driving on the motorbike away. And he asked me what I wanted to eat, and I said something specific. I said pork on a stick and sticky rice, and we went to a market and they didn't have it, but they had chicken. And I was like, you know, whatever, I'll just eat chicken. But he was like, no, we have to get you pork on a stick and sticky rice. And so we got chicken from the market, but then we also stopped at like a random food stall and got pork on a stick and sticky rice. And I'm like, how did he even see this place? Like, how did he know this place was here? I had no idea that this was gonna be here. And we just jump off and we get the food and we get back on and we keep going to the mountain. It's like, okay, I like that was just no big deal for him to find those shops. That happened a few times on the trip where he'd just find things and I'm like, man, I know what to look for and I don't even see it. And he just like automatically knows where it is. So interesting to me. Anyway, we got to the national park, and of course it costs more if you're a foreigner than if you're a Thai person to get in. Although he did his best to say, oh, this is just my friend over here. And I'm like looking the other way. I'm like, maybe they won't know. I was not subtle. I stood out too much. Anyway, we went up and we went past the waterfall site, and he's like, oh, we'll come back to the waterfall later. And we went up to this hike, and we did this hike, and you kind of have to pay the guides to go with you. That's just like a requirement of doing the hike, even though there's nowhere that you could possibly get lost, and they don't really necessarily tell you anything unless you ask them to tell you stuff. There's signs on the trail that tell you things, but it was a really beautiful hike, and it was a really good time of day. There was people taking pictures with the 12 degrees Celsius sign, and I thought that was so funny. I'm like, oh, 12 degrees Celsius, ooh, better take a picture. Like, oh, so cold. But it is so cold for around here. Yeah, and we hiked up, and like there was just fog in the clouds. It's called a cloud forest for a reason. And there's moss growing up all of the trees and stuff, and like this jungly location. Such an interesting ecosystem, really. I mean, there was so much info about it. We didn't read everything, but he stopped and took pictures of all the signs. He's like, I like to go and look back at my photos and read the signs later to, you know, remember what was going on here or learn about it or whatever. I thought that was pretty neat. We started out in the trees and we kind of emerged onto this meadow, which I guess is too rocky for all the trees to grow on. It seems so interesting, like how dense the forest is, and then to just open up onto like a meadow on the side of a cliff, and you can see this panoramic view everywhere. I'm like, whoa. I couldn't really fully express my wonder and appreciation for everything that I saw on this hike. The best I could say was, wow. That's a good word. Sometimes that's the most we can say. I mean, Top only speaks Thai, so I really tried to express myself as best as I could in Thai, but it's hard after a whole day of speaking and trying to think of things to say, and my brain gets tired after a while, and then my body's getting tired from moving and doing all this stuff as well, and it's not easy to fully express myself, but wow, I can't believe I got to go on this hike with a guy I met 2 weeks ago. That's amazing. And we went back down, or actually we went up to the top of the mountain, but I didn't take any videos of that. I just took a couple of photos at the summit, the highest point in Thailand. It's like, there's not a lot to see, but there's a survey marker up there, and it's like, okay, that's cool. And we went back down and we stopped at the Wichiritan waterfall. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And wow, I know I've been there at least twice before. I didn't really realize I'd been there before. But when I saw it, it clicked in my mind. I was like, oh, we've stopped here in the past. Probably on our way to drive to some of the hill tribe villages that some of my friends and other students were from back when I was in school. And I've been to this place before. But it was like seeing it for the first time at the same time. I was like, wow, this is such an amazing sight. And we stopped and we had food. I also didn't take any video of that because I feel, I don't know, it's weird to film when you and one other person are eating. We just sat and chatted and we ate sticky rice and fried chicken and soup and somtam. I mean, staples, man. It's a classic. It was so good. Oh, it was such a good lunch. We sat there and we chatted, we ate lunch, and eventually we headed home and changed vehicles from the motorbike to the car, picked up his girlfriend. I think they were going somewhere afterwards, I'm not entirely sure. So I got to meet her as well. She's a school teacher and she speaks English a little bit more than him, but I still mostly spoke Thai to them. And they were like, oh yeah, check out this place near your house. They have good khao soi and, you know, food and this market and stuff. It was very sweet. They dropped me off and at the end, I tried to say as best I could. I was like, you know, I wish I could express all the words in my heart for how much today meant to me. But, you know, all I can say is thank you so much, and I really appreciate this day. And that's what I said. And he said, you know, if you're happy, I'm happy. I wonder what other kinds of experiences I might continue to have as I continue to be open to those experiences with people. Because this is just the start. And it was amazing.